This is probably one of the most eventful episodes, not only because of its animation quality being top notch, but the fact that this is a more strong story driven. If last episode with Garfield was the amazing animation of a fight, this animation episode is more on the lines of tragedy, because this is the tragedy of the Astrea family. And unfortunately, this is probably the tipping point where all three of them are not only in shambles in their own unique ways, but at this point, their relationship as a family has truly degraded to a point where, yeah, each one views the other, well, exception of Reinhardt, but for sure Wilhelm and Heinkel aren't happy with what happened and will forever have such disdain, mainly towards Reinhardt, but for sure the family structure has completely broken at this point. So first things first, the Theresia versus Wilhelm, obviously pretty amazing. And if it wasn't for Heinkel coming in and completely catching Wilhelm off guard, I am 100% certain Wilhelm was going to finish the job right then and there. Because it's mostly shown that Wilhelm, despite not being at his prime, is still a worthy swordsman. And the fact that he held out for as long as he did against Theresia, which is probably not at her full capabilities, is probably saying something, as well as the fact that they've been fighting for quite some time, and he still looks like he can keep going for the rest of the night, but that's a side thing. So yeah, Wilhelm gets stabbed, is unable to fight. Heinkel obviously tries to fight, even though he pathetically loses the sword right in the first second. And right as it seems like Theresia is about to kill Heinkel, her own son, Reinhardt appears. And yeah, essentially both Heinkel and Wilhelm do not want Theresia to die here because they know that Reinhardt is going to kill her, especially the fact that Reinhardt is able to unsheath the Dragon Reed sword. And the animation for that is so immense. It's probably to show that she is a worthy opponent for the sword to strike down, per se. But unfortunately, their cries to stop this from happening are in vain. Because first of all, Theresia is going for the kill. Like, nothing seems to be convincing her to stop her rampage. And Reinhardt is responding in kind. And he one-shots her. Like, this is the true power of the current Sword Saint, Reinhard von Astrea, the strongest character in ReZero. And yeah, as Theresia is struck down, we get the flashback stuff. They do like reanimations of the first season's flashback related to more Wilhelm stuff, but now we're seeing it through Theresia's point of view, and I like the contrast. She had quite the interesting childhood. Like, she was given that Sword Saint, like the divine protection of the Sword Saint, instead of her brother, which kind of set her on the path of wielding a sword. And yeah, that's how she ended up meeting with Wilhelm. We get a little more on the demi-human war. We get a little more of her relationship with her brothers and her uncle, but I also the tragedy of losing them in the war, because she didn't want it to fight. She didn't want the sword. She didn't want any of this, and unfortunately, that sort of cost her family, because her brother was there willing to take over the burden of being the Sword Saint without the divine protection, and unfortunately he was defeated, as well as everyone else. And because the Sword Saint can't quit, because it's the support of the literal kingdom, she had to stand up and take the sword. And eventually it all leads into like her defeat through Wilhelm and living a nice life, having Heinkel, eventually Heinkel bringing his wife, and then Reinhardt being born. Like, it's all building up to the point of the white whale attack, where right now there was the problem with the princess being captured and like kidnapped, and then the white whale appearing. So two different scenarios. Heinkel was supposed to go and fight the white whale, but he was too much of a coward, so Theresia went on his place. Obviously Wilhelm doesn't like that, but he has a duty to save the princess from the kidnappers. So this is the last time these two saw each other, and we get to see just how devastating the white whale was. Like, it's something to emphasize that Subaru got really lucky that he had strong allies and that they were all able to beat the white whale in the first fight, the proper fight. And the fact that we're seeing right now Theresia, prior to her losing her divine protection, having faced off the whale, and it's just causing so much devastation, and it like wiped out her entire battalion with some barely surviving that encounter. if not probably have died after the fact. In Theresia attempting, like, she realized her divine protection went to Reinhard, and it's almost like a thing where, because her brother or uncle, I think, was able to tell that she got the divine protection of the Sword Saint, like, right off the bat. Like, she didn't know until she felt it. But for sure she was able to tell that it went to Reinhard, which is a problem because in the books it definitely goes that Heinkel wanted to be the next Sword Saint and was preparing himself for that. So having it go to his son probably hurt his pride, but it also causes different problems because getting that divine protection caused the stuff that happened to Reinhard of being shunned by his family. But that kind of is a problem because not only that, Pandora comes in and obviously she can't unsheath the sword, which I got a theory about that, but before I get to that theory, she ditches the divine sword and goes for a regular sword and is able to slash her, only to this obviously didn't work, and yeah, she died from the looks of it right then and there. Now I have two theories why this could have happened. One, maybe the divine sword only works for those that have the divine protection of the Sword Saint. Maybe it didn't respond to her because she didn't have that divine protection, so maybe that could have been a reason. But my other reason could be a similar situation with Regulus, that maybe the sword doesn't view Pandora as a threat, but she is a threat in reality. So I don't know. It is one of the two things. I could be wrong. It could be a whole different reason. But the fact of the matter is, Pandora did something and was able to kill Theresia. And the reason she was dead is because, similar to Kargon on how he died and just broke down because, I mean, he was an undead, Theresia started to fade away. And man, do you want to know what this scene reminds me of? If you're a Kingdom Hearts fan, you're going to know what the hell I'm about to say because it is the Shion thing. This was already sad in this particular context of watching a friend having to strike down your own friend and then that friend disappearing. So watching Theresia having a similar thing is very sad. It is not depressing sad, well, a bit, but it is just flashbacks of a sad moment, of another sad moment. Having Theresia and Wilhelm have a final, like, genuine conversation, and then obviously her completely fading away and dusting out, like becoming dust, it is pretty sad. Wilhelm, like, has to suffer even more now. And unfortunately, Reinhard gets all the shit. Heinkel obviously gives Reinhard shit for this and is obviously blaming him that, okay, now you really did kill the previous Sword Saint. Are you happy with this? And Reinhard's responses to this is weird because he definitely is confused by what Heinkel's saying. And he says that wasn't Theresia, that was an imposter. And it was an undead, something that shouldn't be. But I'm almost thinking Reinhard, haven't seen his perspective yet, his point of view. We're seeing it through Wilhelm and Heinkel's point of view. So I'm thinking that Reinhard saw something in Theresia that wasn't what they were seeing, something off. That maybe when we ever get Reinhard's chapter name or episode name, we might actually get to see what he was seeing. Maybe there's something special that he saw that immediately told him he needs to strike Theresia down no matter what. But obviously Wilhelm asks if he regrets this action, like the one he currently did, and he says no. And look, the second he said no, that was when Wilhelm in his mind is like, okay then, you were no longer my grandson. You were just Reinhard von Astrea, the Sword Saint, the Master Swordsman of Lagunica. So this was the moment that their relationship has fully, completely decayed. There's no going back. And yeah, Reinhard leaves because he's sent off. Although in the books it says that he'd go find Garfield because he's worried for him. But obviously Wilhelm wants to be alone. Heinkel's just mad because obviously he is worried for his father but is being pushed away. So he's just mad at everything and obviously wants them both to die. Like, he is in distress as well. So obviously 10 out of 10 episode. But this was such a tragedy. It's like, damn, I didn't think that it would hit this hard when they animated it. And they did. Like, bravo. ReZero, like always, having to pull on our heartstrings.